Buongiorno a tutti, sono Mirko Mottino, aspettiamo giusto un minutino prima di iniziare, aspettiamo un attimino che si colleghino tutti, giusto 30 secondi, 45 secondi, grazie. Vedo che si stanno lentamente collegando. Mentre aspettiamo vi do giusto qualche informazione operativa sul funzionamento del webinar, sulla piattaforma che stiamo utilizzando. I vostri microfoni sono spenti come anche il video. Potete interagire con noi durante il webinar tramite una chat che vedete sulla vostra destra, per cui durante gli interventi potete porci le vostre domande che possiamo rispondere o durante gli interventi oppure possiamo poi rispondere anche durante la fine della sessione del webinar. Il webinar sarà registrato, per cui per chi lo vorrà lo potremo inviare e durerà circa un'oretta. Questa è giusto qualche informazione operativa. Direi a questo punto che possiamo iniziare, per cui benvenuti a questo evento organizzato in collaborazione tra il gruppo Maier Vidorno Altios e il gruppo Agricole, una giornata che dedichiamo al mercato indiano, uno dei giganti economici asiatici del mondo, un mercato dove le società italiane sono già presenti, ma ci sono ancora molte opportunità, c'è ancora molto da fare e per questo oggi facciamo un focus per quanto riguarda le società italiane che operano nel settore dei macchinari industriali. Oggi ne parliamo con Madhav Raina Tapan, Manager Director di Altios India. Qui con noi ci sarà anche Cecilia Zanella, responsabile International Desk Crédit Agricole Italia, e Sravanthi, responsabile del Desk Crédit Agricole in India. A video vedete un attimino il programma della giornata, per cui iniziamo alle 9:30 con questo webinar che dura circa un'ora. In seguito al webinar ci sarà la possibilità di fissare appuntamenti B2B con i nostri esperti, per cui Madhav, Sravanthi, Cecilia e via dicendo, appuntamenti che possono essere realizzati oggi oppure se interessati potete contattarci via email e possiamo fissare degli incontri nei prossimi giorni oppure la prossima settimana, sempre tramite una piattaforma, per cui tramite video call. Per cui io direi di iniziare la giornata e per cui possiamo andare avanti con la slide seguente. Giusto due informazioni per quanto riguarda il gruppo MV Altios. Cosa facciamo? Da circa 30 anni accompagniamo le società a svilupparsi nel mondo, per cui come vedete a video questo è il percorso classico di uno sviluppo export, per cui si passa da tutto quello che è strategia di crescita internazionale, per cui diagnostica export, studi di mercato e via dicendo, per passare a una parte di sviluppo, per cui creazioni di reti commerciali, agenti, distributori, ricerca di società con le quali realizzare delle società di joint venture e via dicendo. Si arriva poi allo step dell'insediamento, per cui creazioni di strutture giuridiche, assunzione personale, payroll hosting, gestione della contabilità delle risorse umane, e per arrivare all'ultimo step, quello dell'investimento, per cui progetti di acquisizione e fusione, creazione di siti industriali, per cui diciamo che possiamo coprire dall'A alla Z di un processo di internazionalizzazione. È un gruppo che ad oggi è presente direttamente in 22 mercati del mondo, con le proprie filiali. A video vedete la nostra presenza nel mondo. Per quanto riguarda l'India, è un paese dove siamo fortemente presenti perché grazie alla fusione col gruppo MV di circa un anno e mezzo fa, ad oggi in India contiamo circa 200 persone, per cui è un mercato in cui siamo fortemente presenti e con un ufficio e personale che opera in veramente settori diversificati. Qui a video vedete qualche cifra, come dicevo prima siamo presenti in 22 paesi con 32 uffici, siamo circa 750 persone repartite nel mondo, di cui più di 200 in India, e dall'inizio della nostra esistenza abbiamo accompagnato oltre 10.000 società a svilupparsi nel mondo. Per quanto riguarda l'Italia siamo presenti con 2 uffici, uno a Torino e uno a Milano. A questo punto, dopo che vi ho dato qualche informazione su chi siamo, cosa facciamo, entriamo un attimino nel vivo della giornata e parliamo dell'India, per cui io lascerei la parola a Madhav, Managing Director di Altios in India. Please, Madhav.
Grazie Mirko. Buongiorno a tutti. I will speak in English now because my Italian is not as good as Mirko's, obviously. So very, very quick, we have some great people speaking today. So I'm going to really focus on how to sell in India, yeah? We're not going to talk so much about Indian economy and anything like that, but more really focus on how to sell, what strategies to use, and what to consider if you are already selling in India. Yeah. So just a quick overview, as you guys know, as all of you know, Italy is India's 5th largest trading partner. There's already a lot of business between India and Italy. If you want to quantify that, 4.2 billion euros worth of exports to India. And there are over 600 companies in India, Italian companies in India, since several years. In terms of top sectors, these of course we all know, but machinery and equipment is why all of us are here today. Now there's several ways to do business in India, to sell to India, and of course the common business models have been listed here. Either you are selling in India from Italy, or exporting and you go through a distributor or a partner, or you want to manufacture in Italy and you set up a joint venture with an Indian partner, or you decide to set up your own office in India because it makes sense for you. Yeah. So this is just an overall hierarchy. I think Andrea, let's move to the next slide. I'll keep it, like I said, I'll keep it to the point. So India, I don't need to tell you, is of course a land of opportunity. It's one of the world's fastest growing economies. And there is huge potential in the market. But with everything, there is a silver lining. So with every country, with every opportunity, there are some challenges. And with India, and India is not an exception. So this image before you is significant because, as you see, we've put the map of Europe and we put India on top. Yeah. So it just tells you that India is not a country. Don't think of India as one country. Think of it as a huge subcontinent. Yeah, it's a subcontinent. So when you do business in India, it's not the same. You have to think very differently as when you do business in France, Germany, Portugal, Spain. So India is that big. So when you think of doing business in such a large and complex country, it's equally as large as Europe, as continental Europe, larger actually than continental Europe, and equally as complex. Yeah. So the idea is, and therefore there are many challenges that are faced, not just by foreign companies, but also by Indian companies, because we are looking at several markets. We're looking at several different market structures. There's a bureaucracy, there are compliance requirements, tax requirements in different states. And of course, not last but least, you have very demanding and price sensitive consumers and customers. So not just your B2C customers, but your B2B customers as well. They are quite demanding. And finally, most people don't even know the full extent of the market they're selling into, because for a lot of products and a lot of industries, the market is not transparent. Yeah, it's not completely transparent. So you might have 2 or 3 big players or big suppliers of a certain product or a certain machine, and then the rest of the market can be very fragmented. So these are the challenges faced by every company when doing business in India. Andrea, next slide, please. So now, as a foreign company, the idea of this webinar is selling strategies in India. How to sell. So what you need to know when you want to sell in India is, of course, where do I sell and who am I selling to? So who are the people? Am I selling in the north, south, east, and west? Mentalities are different. Customer expectations are different. The way you do business is different in different parts of the India. The structure of the market is also very important when and I'll come to that in another slide, is that how is the market structured for your product, right? Because your product might be a mid-market product in Italy, but when you come to India, because it's imported, because it comes from Italy, it might be a premium level product. So you need to really know where your product sits in the market, and what's a realistic size of market for you. Because a lot of our European clients, they look at India and they think, hey, India has 1.4 billion consumers, and there's so much production happening, there's so much consumption happening, and therefore it's a huge market. But as most of you know, that's not really true. Yeah, depending on what you're selling and who you're selling to, it can actually be a very niche market. And finally, you have demanding and price sensitive customers, and we'll also come to that because customers today, at least B2B, even B2C customers, while they are price conscious, they're also very value conscious. So it's very important to know that you don't have to necessarily compete in India because of price. Because for certain customers, for many customers, it's more about the value. Price is just a number, right? It's more about do you help me save cost? Do you help me save time? Do you help me improve quality? And do you help me stay in compliance with a certain law or regulation? Yeah, so these factors are really important to know. So as we were saying, how do you get to know your customer? How do you position yourself? Yeah, are you in the premium market? Are you in the middle market, which is the good enough market? Or do you supply to the bottom end, the low end of the market? Yeah, so typically, as I said, the good enough market is where you may be in Europe, but when you come to India, you are automatically in the premium market, because it can simply be because of cost. Yeah, because anything that is imported, it will generally be more expensive than what is produced. But even so, then you need to I guess reflect on how you are positioning your product. Because if you're positioning your product to a middle market, to a good enough market, then there are a different set of challenges than if you position to a premium market. Next slide, please, Andrea. Yes. So as I was saying, the Indian market is what, almost 600. This figure may be a little low, so it may be 650 billion. The size of the market is about 650 billion for at least for a lot of, and for machineries, for machine manufacturing companies, that's a large chunk of that goes to machine manufacturing, right? And if you look at the way it's divided, of course, the premium market is where most of our customers, most European customers who come into India, they address the premium end of the market. So that's really 16%. Yeah, so whatever the size of the market, it's a very, at the end of the day, it's a very, very niche market. Because let's face it, if you are producing items in Italy, or machines that are relatively that are almost like commodities, that are relatively easy to produce, and where quality is not important, and there's a low running cost associated with it, then then it'll be there for the good enough market or the low end market, and you'll have a tough time competing there. But therefore, which is why if you want to sell in India, you have to be aware of what is the market segment that you're going to be selling into. And therefore, if you're just going to export to India, you really only cater to a small percentage, maybe the premium segment. But if you decide to invest, to manufacture in India, and if you feel that the good enough market, which is much larger, which is the mid-sized market, is if you feel you want to compete over there, then you will definitely need to come set up manufacturing in India, and it'll be a different approach. So if you want to target more, if you want to grow in India, you can do a little bit through export, but real growth will come if you actually manufacture over here. Yeah, that's how the market is structured. Next, please. So what's important, whether you are selling to India now, whether you plan to sell to India, or you are already in India, and I'm sure those of our guests will be more aware of this, is that you need to adopt a regional approach in India. So India, of course, is north. Certain states that come in the north, the others in the west, east, and south. But even within these states, sometimes you need to have state and geographical specific approaches. So how you do business in the north can be very different from doing business in the west and the south. And it's not just about cultural differences, but also when it comes to partners, distributors, agents. Yeah, so quite often when a lot of our European companies come to us and they say, hey, I'm doing business in India and my distributor he says he deals with all of India, but he's based in Mumbai, or he's based in Bangalore, or he's based in Chennai. So quite often that distributor says he or she has access to all of India, but they don't, because sometimes, most of the time, they have a very strong regional presence. And therefore, your product sometimes does not reach all over, all the different markets that it can reach, can potentially reach. So a regional approach, defining a regional approach is really important in how you sell in India. Next, Andrea. So, moving on from there, it's also very important to look at when you're in the business of selling machines and machine parts to India, that you need presence everywhere. You need to be where your customers are. So if you are targeting customers all over India, then your product needs to be available, easily available to your customers. You need to be able to visit them often. You need to provide after-sales support in a timely manner, and you need to understand how they use the product, and therefore how how you're going to sell the product, and then how the customers use the product, which will determine afterwards how your market will grow and how you would service the customers, because sometimes customers don't always use the product in the same way. Yes, maybe in other European countries, when you sell a product, you have an instruction manual and it's followed very correctly. But in India, there are always variations, yeah, depending on where a customer is. There can be power fluctuations. If your machinery is very sensitive and being in transport, there are very bad roads somewhere. And depending on who is managing, who is operating your machines, there can be huge variances in the life of the machine, and therefore the demand for spare parts. So you need to be aware. The point I'm trying to make is that don't simply go by what somebody tells you, what one distributor or one importer or one agent tells you. But it's important to know where your clients are, and that it's important to know that if you really want to grow in India, you have to be everywhere, and you have to strategically have or build the infrastructure so that you're closer to your clients and to your growing market. So you need multiple dealers. Yeah, it's not going to work with just one dealer. So Altios, Maier Vidorno in India, we've been in this business for over 20 years, and the majority of our clients are machine manufacturers, German and French companies, not so many Italian companies, to be quite honest, but principally German and French companies who've been selling to India. They sell machines, and they sell spare parts. And they come up with, when they go through a distributor, they originally come through distributors, and they say that, okay, we met this guy, we went to a trade fair, or we identified a distributor, he seems very reputable, and we work with them. But over 70 to 80% of companies who come to us who work with distributors are not always happy. And there's several reasons that you see in front of you, as in, they don't have transparency in sales reporting, there are payment problems. A distributor will say that typically when distributors sign on, they say, hey, we'll cover all of India for you. But, as you know, that's not true. And most of them do not have a good presence or a solid presence everywhere. And then, they are distributing for many companies. So your product is not always, so the focus is not always on your product. The focus for a distributor is on products that move easily, that sell very quickly, and that have high margins. And so while they are well-intentioned towards helping all clients, obviously, quite often it misses out. Yeah, and distributors do not always have a dedicated business development team, like I said, for your product. They'll again focus on products that move easily, that sell easily, for which there's a high demand. And really to keep it simple, distributors typically tend to be very opaque about how your business is doing in India. So you don't really know how it's working. You know that, okay, I've sold X amount of product, and this is the revenue that's been generated, and this is the money I get back. But you don't always have really reliable market information. Is this all that's possible in India, or what is the distributor really doing to market my product? So while it's very easy if you're a small company, yes, it's easy to start with a distributor, but you're not really going to grow and get that experience from and really develop in the Indian market if you stay with one distributor. Now, if you look at companies like ours, import and distribution is one of the services we offer. Our goal is not to make money on your distribution. Our goal is to help you enter the market so that you do well, you sell, and then we also help you with other services. So typically, when you have challenges with distributors, that's where Altios and Maier Vidorno comes in, and we say, listen, we'll do this for a standard fee. So no matter how much you sell, our fee remains the same. We give you very transparent reporting. We actually help you with selling the product and taking care of the sales order management, and are very transparent with you in what's happening on the ground, how your product is being perceived in the market, what is the reaction to it, and through that information, the idea is to help you grow and sell and develop the market for your product more and more in India. Because as I said, there's huge potential in India, but a lot of companies, especially a lot of small to mid-sized companies that we talk to and that we've worked with, feel that they don't have enough information and they don't have enough control. Next slide, please, Andrea. So whether you come through a distributor or whether you decide that you want to set up a subsidiary or a company in India to sell, for any country head, whether this country head is sitting in Italy or sitting in a regional office or sitting in India, there are three kinds of work basically. There's your finance and accounts, there's operations, and there's sales and marketing. Yeah. So what we try to tell our customers is that your business, your product. Please focus on selling when it comes to India. Yeah. So your entire focus should be on selling. Of course, if you decide to do everything yourself, then your focus is going to be diluted. Yeah. If you hire a great country manager and he's managing finance and operations, then the focus is not going to be so much on sales. So Andrea, if you go to the next slide. So what we try to tell our customers and what we personally feel will work for them, especially given their size and their requirements and their priorities, is that let us take care, or not just us, you can outsource this to any other professional firm, but let the professionals focus on the finance and operations, on the back office, and instead you should focus on actually selling your product. So all your energy should be on sales, on defining the sales process, on hiring the right people, on working with them regularly, and on coming here, meeting your customers, talking to your customers, developing a relationship with your customers, and understand the market. Yeah, and this is applicable whether or not you work with us, whether or not you work with a professional services firm, or even if you're working with a distributor. Yeah, because even for distributors, they need to feel that you are involved. So if you're coming to India, meeting with them, asking them questions, talking to clients, if you're more involved, then they will also perhaps respond a little better. But at the end of the day, with a country like India, which is big, where there are a lot of competitors, where there's so many customers but so many competitors also, you really need focus, and you really need to focus on your sales. Yeah. So really what we're trying to say over here is that you need to know your market. So the first thing is market information. Are you selling to the right people? Do you know how your products are used? Do you know what kind of value your products are creating? Yeah, and that's really, really important, because we have a lot of clients who come to us, a lot of German and French clients who sell very good quality, high quality, but expensive machinery. And their salespeople come to us and say, hey, we have trouble selling because Indian companies are very price sensitive, and our product is not, our product, because we import it, there are duties and it's expensive. But that's not always the case, because sometimes we've talked to these clients, we've investigated, and what we find is that the value proposition isn't strong enough, because sometimes clients are willing to move away from other competitors. They're willing to come to you, they're willing to pay more, but they need to see that, okay, what am I getting for that? I'm happy to pay more, but are you saving me? Is it impacting time, cost, quality, or is it helping me be in compliance with a certain regulation? Yeah. So it's very, very important to know your market. It's important to have realistic targets, because in India, it takes time for a foreign brand to grow. Yeah. So you cannot treat India like any other European market. Once again, so when you grew in Italy, for example, when you started your company and you grew your company in Italy, it didn't grow 20, 30, 40% every year. Most of the time it didn't. It started small. Yeah. So you need to think like that in India as well. India has a lot of potential, but if you start small and you have realistic targets, manageable targets, then you won't be disappointed. Then your budgets will be in line, and then you'll be quite satisfied with the way it's growing. And we can help you define those targets. We can help you define the market strategy as well. Structuring sales, again, is efficient. Do I focus on one part of India? Do I focus on all parts of India? How many distributors should I have? How many salespeople should I have? What we tell our clients is that even if you have a distributor, it's important that you maybe hire 1 or 2 or 3 dedicated salespeople for your product. They continue working with their distributor, you continue working with their distributor, but these salespeople will go around and will be focused on selling only your product. So there are several strategies that we can, that are available for you to really sell your product well. And the last 2 points here are really the key points. Focus on business, focus on sales, and leave the administration and the bureaucracy to professionals like us or anyone else for that matter. Yeah, you don't want to get into all of that, because when you go to any country for that matter, and India is no exception, any country has its own set of bureaucracy and compliances and tax payments and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, if you do business from France and between France and Italy, I mean, you have the same problem, right? So you want to focus on sales, leave the administration to us. So don't feel. What I'm trying to say here is that it's okay and it's recommended to take help when you're entering, especially a complex market like India. And next slide, please. Yeah, here's something that we share that we kind of live by. An efficient and effective back office does not create sales, but an inefficient and ineffective back office can destroy whatever sales can build. Yeah. So it's not. So if you are, it's important for you. It's important for you to have your back office processes in place, to do everything right, to be in compliance of the law, to set up that structure. And obviously, by setting up that structure, that doesn't mean you're going to sell, and you still need the right sales team. But if you don't set up that structure properly, if you don't have professionals handling it for you, then it can impact what you're trying to grow. I mean, I've actually helped 3 European companies in the past 2 years close their operations because they had great products, they had a great sales team, and they were selling to a lot of clients. But the way they handled their operations was just mind-boggling. They didn't follow up with clients for payments. Payments were outstanding. Whatever was paid, there were no compliances done. There were a lot of HR. They were hiring people and not signing HR contracts. But they had great ideas. They were very passionate. Their products were doing really well. But after a point, the parent company couldn't keep investing, and the local subsidiary was so badly managed because they didn't outsource it to professionals, and they did everything in-house. So that's why it's really important to make sure that your foundations are stable, so that you focus really, really on developing your sales strategy. So yes, that's it. That's it from me. I hope this was useful. Just to recap: know your customers, know your market. Spend a little time doing that if you've not done so already, and then focus on developing your sales strategy. And if you need help, please talk to us. You don't have to work with us, but we are always happy to talk to you and see how you can do business in India.
Thank you very much, Madhav. Grazie mille. A questo punto chiamo Cecilia Zanella, responsabile dell'International Desk di Crédit Agricole in Italia. Prego Cecilia.
Grazie Mirko, grazie Madav, buongiorno a tutti. Dopo aver ascoltato Madav che vi ha detto come Altios vi può aiutare a sviluppare il vostro business in India, avrete bisogno di una banca. Avrete bisogno di una banca che vi supporta per tutte le vostre attività nel paese. Passiamo alla successiva. La vostra banca potrebbe essere il Crédit Agricole. Giusto due parole, non vi annoierò su troppi numeri, ma giusto per farvi capire chi siamo, dove siamo, che cosa facciamo. Siamo un gruppo di origine francese, ma siamo un gruppo internazionale. Abbiamo 53 milioni di clienti nel mondo, siamo presenti in una cinquantina di paesi con 11.000 filiali. Abbiamo una struttura e una organizzazione di gruppo che è organizzata come banca di prossimità universale, il che vuol dire siamo vicini ai territori dove siamo presenti, ma siamo anche una banca universale, quindi abbiamo emanazioni appunto in tutto il mondo. Siamo organizzati con tutta una serie di linee di business che coprono tutti i bisogni delle aziende, dalla gestione del risparmio alle banche commerciali più tradizionali. Abbiamo servizi finanziari specializzati come il leasing, il factoring, la banca assicurazione, come vi ho già detto. Abbiamo anche le banche specializzate per grandi clienti come CACIB, e abbiamo tutta una serie di attività e di filiali iperspecializzate. Passiamo alla successiva. Sempre per quello che riguarda la visione sul mondo, solo per dirvi che la forza della nostra banca si vede dai numeri, si vede dai rating, si vede dagli indicatori di solidità che vi lascio qui, si vede dai numeri chiave dello scorso anno. Che vi lascio qui, ricavi in crescita, utile netto in crescita, e quindi tutti i segni di una salute di una banca forte che è in grado assolutamente di sviluppare business dove ci sono gli interessi dei nostri clienti. Passiamo alla successiva, Andrea, per favore. Siamo ovviamente anche in Italia. L'Italia è il secondo mercato, oltre al secondo dopo la Francia, per il Crédit Agricole. Siamo organizzati, abbiamo un modello di business in Italia che è molto simile a quello del gruppo. Anche qui vi lascio alcuni numeri chiave senza addentrarmi, non vi voglio tediare sui numeri, però anche questo è importante per capire questi numeri che vedete. Più di 5 milioni di clienti, più di 17.000 collaboratori, tutte le linee di business presenti in Italia, quindi la banca commerciale, Agos, il prestito al consumo, la gestione del risparmio, la banca assicurazione, quindi i grandi clienti. Quindi il modello che ricalca assolutamente quello del nostro gruppo in Francia. La successiva. In Italia la presenza è sulla maggior parte del nostro paese, siamo in quasi tutte le regioni. Di recente il Crédit Agricole Italia, il gruppo Crédit Agricole Italia ha acquisito anche la banca Credito Valtellinese, che ci ha permesso di arrivare anche in regioni dove prima non eravamo presenti, per esempio appunto la Sicilia, per esempio la Val d'Aosta. Ci siamo sviluppati ancora di più in regioni dove eravamo già stabilmente presenti, come la Lombardia, l'Emilia Romagna, le Marche, siamo in Toscana, quindi ci sono veramente 2 o 3 regioni in Italia dove non ci trovate. Passiamo alla successiva e anche a quella dopo ancora, la nostra presenza internazionale. Come vi dicevo, siamo presenti in una cinquantina di paesi. Come siamo presenti? Siamo presenti in diversi modi, con le banche commerciali come noi, quindi banche tradizionali che fanno banca tradizionale dai privati alle piccole imprese, alle grandi società, quindi tutti i prodotti bancari più tradizionali li trovate, la stessa rete di sportelli, la stessa organizzazione è anche per le altre banche che vi ho indicato qui sotto, quindi la Polonia, l'Ucraina, l'Egitto, il Crédit du Maroc, oltre che all'Italia. Queste sono le nostre banche, il Crédit Agricole locali. La successiva, un focus velocissimo sulla Francia, dove siamo presenti con 39 casse regionali. Ognuna di queste casse regionali copre in maniera capillare la zona dove ha la sede, quindi abbiamo per ogni regione della Francia una cassa regionale dedicata, e qui la banca di prossimità si vede in maniera diciamo perfetta, perché ogni cassa regionale ha l'espertise, l'esperienza, la conoscenza del suo territorio ed è assolutamente in grado di sostenere l'economia dei territori dove sono radicate. La successiva invece è un altro esempio di dove è il Crédit Agricole in Francia. La banca LCL, altra entità del Crédit Agricole, anche qui una banca più nazionale, con una rete di sportelli sempre banca tradizionale, però con un focus più importante sul grande business. La successiva, dove non ci sono le banche di prossimità, quindi dove non c'è il Crédit Agricole in maniera diretta, dove non ci sono le casse regionali, abbiamo il Crédit Agricole si è organizzato con tutta una serie di international desk, quello italiano di cui io faccio parte, che sarà il vostro entry point per tutte le vostre esigenze nel mondo. Noi poi facciamo riferimento agli international desk che vedete qui, coprono tutte le parti del mondo. In particolare passerò poi la parola alla collega Sravanthi, che segue l'India e che vi dirà poi come in India in particolare Crédit Agricole può darvi un supporto locale. La successiva. Qua vi ho lasciato tutta una serie di servizi che l'International Desk, non solo Italia, ma tutti gli International Desk nel mondo offrono ai nostri clienti, e quindi dalle informazioni commerciali alle informazioni per sapere che tipologia di servizi bancari troviamo nei vari paesi, un aiuto nella strutturazione dei finanziamenti che partono dall'Italia. Lo schema diciamo basico che noi ormai utilizziamo in maniera diciamo quotidiana è concedere affidamenti al nostro cliente italiano affinché poi possa garantire la banca locale, la banca per esempio indiana, che concederà linee localmente. Quindi strutturiamo insieme a voi tutta una serie di servizi che aiutano la vostra tesoreria. Troviamo i prodotti di cash management, di cash pooling, anche un semplice internet banking nella banca locale. La partnership con Altios ne abbiamo ampiamente parlato, e quindi anche la banca ha un servizio di M&A che è a vostra disposizione. Tutto questo per dirvi che in effetti il Crédit Agricole vi supporta non solo in Italia ma nel mondo, in particolare qua faremo riferimento all'India. Io lascerei la parola a Sravanthi per addentrarci nel Crédit Agricole in India. Grazie.
Grazie Cecilia. Hello Sravanthi.
Hi Mirko. Hello everybody. Buongiorno a tutti. Grazie Cecilia for the introduction. I will also be speaking in English like Madhav because my Italian is very rusty. Yes, like how Cecilia, my colleague, just explained, the group in India is in the name of Crédit Agricole Corporate Investment Bank, and it is present for the last 36, 37 years, slightly older than I am. And I am based in Mumbai, a city called Mumbai, handling the All India portfolio of our clients, especially of the sizes mid-corporate and small corporate. So if you see this first slide, it basically talks about the kind of relationship we keep and how the international desk becomes the entry point or the matchmaking point between Italy and India in terms of helping our group clients of Crédit Agricole Italia to come and set up their establishments or subsidiaries in India. It is not just about having an entry point to India in terms of a physical presence, but also in terms of trade related activities such as guarantee issuances or letter of credit and other kind of activities. So we are also strongly partnered with Altios from a very, very long time. And we've been able to, especially in helping the group bank clients such as the French or the German, Italian, Spanish clients over the last many, many years to come and set up offices in India, whether it is in the form of a wholly owned subsidiary or in the form of having just the trade partnerships, like how Madhav explained in his previous slide. So we are also in touch with the Italian Chamber of Commerce in India and also with the Italian Embassy, which can help us easily have an access or even discuss with the state governments from time to time basis in order to solve any kind of problems. So particularly the bank, if you can move to next slide, Andrea. Yes, thanks. So the bank is headquartered in Mumbai with full-fledged operations of treasury, trade finance, cash management, and all kinds of loan solutions. And we also have branches in some of the most key parts of India, like how Madhav explained. The country can be divided in different regions into north, west, east, and south. So we have branches spread all over the place, particularly in the most industrial zones, such as Pune, where a lot of Italian companies have a concentration, and also in Bangalore and Chennai, where a lot of machine tool manufacturing and agri-product manufacturing is very high in the Italian space. So yes, we can move to the next slide, please. So just to give you a quick update here, so we are very strongly in connection with, like how Madhav explained, I mean, different states in India have different types of working, like how you would see in the news. I mean, in India, globally is 1.5, about 1.4 billion population size, and there's almost the third largest consumers of the world after, I mean, it's going to surpass China very soon. The country is also, very targeted towards inflation, which means that, the regulator in India is always focused on controlling the inflation in the range of 4 to 5%, which is his sweet spot for the regulator. The regulator's name is Reserve Bank of India. So in line with these inflation targeting structure, the regulator usually changes the benchmark lending rates in the country accordingly. Either it goes up or goes down. So in terms of the news, all the global news that you see about India, I mean, we have our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, also coming up, inviting a lot of foreign countries to come and invest in India, and a lot of foreign direct investment. That is, a lot of sectors are opened up for 100% investment in India, which means tomorrow you can very much have a full owned company in India and do not have to necessarily go through a joint venture. which is not the case currently in the space of defense, but in machine tools and manufacturing. A lot of French companies and Italian companies are already in India with 100% subsidiary setup. So when you see all these global news that, a lot of investments are flowing into India and a lot of budget allocations are also being made, the country is very open, has become very liberal, inviting a lot of companies, all that is fine. But at the state level, each state has its own mind and each state has its own way of allocations of land and the way it does its own businesses. So that is where a slight amount of complexity comes in terms of India, and perhaps that is where people like Altios, partners like Altios and Crédit Agricole also come into play, where they can break down the complexities for you, catering to your specific requirements or your particular context. So the classic investment climate in India, the ways of entering into India are in the forms of liaison office or project office, which are nothing but a specific project-based entries. While these are great ways of entering into India and exiting without putting a lot of your share capital, investing a lot of your share capital, these are very project-based and they are extremely bound by the regulation. So the regulator is extremely strict about how you enter into India, what kind of project you do, and how you wish to exit. Whereas the last option, the other option is having your wholly owned subsidiary or a joint venture in India. More often than not, what I have seen out of my own experience in the last couple of years, working with Crédit Agricole and also about the industry, is that a lot of Italian companies want to have a strong management and functional control on their subsidiaries and therefore want to come to India with 100% investment. So, which means that they are putting in a lot of their capital into India, really believing in India's growth story and looking at India as a long-term objective. So I will move on to giving you some examples of some success stories. Madhav has given you a couple of failed stories, but my past experience of the last 10 years working with Italian companies have largely been success stories in terms of how they've grown, how patient they have been in India, how they have approached the bank much in advance to understand and explain their problem or their future plans of business in order to gather information to understand the complexities of how the regulation can be interpreted. So if I give you a quick heads up here, the Reserve Bank of India, the regulator has a lot of policies that keep changing. It's quite volatile very often. Also, that stems from the fact that the rupee, Indian rupee versus euro currency or US dollar currency is only partially convertible. What does partially convertible means? It only means that in regular trade goods, it is the INR and euro can be fully exchanged. I can go to an exchange bureau and just give my INR and take the euro, but that is not the case with capital money, which means if I want to set up a manufacturing setup in India, I need to take an okay from RBI much in advance. For example, if you are an Italian company who wants to set up a manufacturing shop in India and you want to invest, for example, say 10 million euros, you will have to go to the regulator asking for a permission if you can do that. So the government is open. It will give you a permission. Nobody says no, but there is a procedure to it. There are certain regulations and the ways of doing it for which you will require a bank. Now that bank in India who does this job for you is called Authorized Dealer Bank. And this Authorized Dealer Bank status is something given by the regulator to only certain banks, and it is not for all banks. So we, for example, Crédit Agricole Corporate Investment Bank are an nominated authorized dealers, which means we have a very clear way of communicating with the regulator in terms of submitting any papers or asking for permissions in terms of this kind of capital flows, or tomorrow if you want to give your subsidiary in India some kind of loan, mother group loan, all of these flows can be managed, can be easily we can get permissions for these kind of things very, very easily with the Reserve Bank of India. So we can move on to the next slide, please. Yes, in terms of banking in India, the bank is classic corporate bank. We have all kinds of corporate banking services, which include having a current account. Like I just mentioned, we are an authorized dealer bank, so we have a very clean and easy rapport with communication channel open with the regulator, and we do give local level loans in terms of working capital requirements or capital expense. If you want to set up manufacturing facility, you can take loan from us as well, and a lot of trade finance products. Andrea, next slide, please. Bank guarantees, of course, foreign exchange services, and these kind of referral programs where we have strong connections with the Chamber of Commerce, Italian Chamber of Commerce, and also with the embassy, just in case in each of the states, wherever you are setting up, you do not have, some work of yours is not moving forward, we can get you in touch with the ministry, with the right ministers, and can help you. These are all added referral services that we do in liaison with Altios International. So just to make a point here, the kind of clients, the whole idea of the bank in India is essentially to support the clients of our group in Italy. Like how Cecilia mentioned, we are the hub points, but at the same time, just to be very, very clear, the agenda of the bank in India is to support the group expand into India, which means we would prefer and would love to have the relationship already set up with Crédit Agricole Italia, and we are working together with the mother company and the upcoming subsidiary or existing subsidiary in India, in terms of whatever requirements you have, so that the dialogue and the discussion is very smooth and easy. And in terms of any transfer of messages or transfer of funds, it's just between the same bank, and it's much more fluid. So that's another point I wish to make. We can move on to the next slide. Yes, couple of examples. So there have been, so without taking a lot of names, I have particularly seen that the COVID year has been specifically not so great for a lot of companies, which includes Italian companies. But there have been certain entities. One of my clients, for example, in machine tool industry, is into manufacturing of pneumatic products. So they were classically in India for the last 10 years, started from zero, literally had nothing in India. They came, purchased a small piece of land from their own money, close to about 500,000 euros, not much. And they today, in the last 7 to 8 years, have grown to become about close to 15 million euro company only in India. At group level, they're close to about 150 million euro into small pneumatic products. So initially, their agenda was always to manufacture or assemble in India and then sell it to Italy and other parts of Europe, because India also, of course, becomes a cheaper or less expensive a hub for manufacturing because of low cost of labor vis-a-vis in Europe. So the assembled products were getting manufactured in India to be sold to Europe, but during the COVID year, it kind of turned around for them because of the ventilators and the breathing pumps. Their pneumatic products absolutely found a different usage altogether, and they started finding a lot of manufacturers and fabricators of ventilators within India, and started increasing their foothold in India. So this is a classic example of being very open to exploring your market in India, and not just having the philosophy retained to whatever was the case in the past. And basically being open to whatever ecosystem has to offer you within India itself, and understanding that Indian consumers are also quite vast in its own nature. I have another client of ours, which is typically into manufacturing of assembly lines for assembling the vehicles and car systems and units. So they are an Italian company which has an ultimate parent holding in China, but all said and done, they have entered into India, about group company at global level, about 300 million euro company. They've entered India just about in the last 6 years. So when they came to India, they were just looking to explore the market, just see whether they can directly get the products to India, fix the assembly lines, and somehow help, large car manufacturers like Volkswagen, Alstom, Bombardier, etc. in India. But eventually, they figured that their clients are a part of ecosystem, a European ecosystem, which included French, Italian, and German. And to bring the faith with their client group, it was much more required for them to actually set up a manufacturing unit in India. So over the 3 years of their presence in India, they've infused close to about 50 million euro, both in terms of capital and in terms of intergroup loans. Of course, we handled all of these exchanges with the Reserve Bank of India and etc. And we actually saw the company grow from zero to whatever big plant they have today. And that built a lot of faith in the market, and their sales shot from close to €500,000 to about 7 million euro just in the last 2 years. So that's another great example of viewing India as a long-term project. Excuse me. So the third case is about food and agro industry, perhaps not relevant right now in the context of us talking about Italian manufacturing and machinery rules, but yeah, we have quite few Italian companies. You know them yourselves, into manufacturing of baked goods and products, which is set up in Pune, a large plant, not a client of ours, but we just following the growth story to see that the company has rampantly approached all of the supermarkets in India, and at the price point that is very desirable for India, and it has been able to structure itself in India for over the last 7 to 8 years, and today is about close to 20 million euro company. Another great example is another client of ours, which is into tea manufacturing. They're into assembling of tea. So the tea is sourced from India because a large part of India is also producer of tea. Excuse me. And infusions are imported from other parts of the globe. It's an absolute 100% export-oriented unit in the zone of Chennai, south of India. So they assemble the teas and source them across the globe to Walmarts and other supermarkets in Europe, Japan, and other parts of the world. So we can move on. Yes, so yeah, to conclude, so basically what I would love to suggest anybody who's looking to set up shop in India is to be aware of the fact that Indian regulations are quite complex and quite volatile. They change within the system of course, all countries are growing to become more and more protectionist these days. That was the case with Trump. That is also the case with a large part of Europe today, where they want to make a lot of in-house manufacturing ability of each of the countries, so that we do not depend upon imports of the neighboring countries like China or any other country for that matter. So the government has really opened up the channels to invite a lot of companies to set up shops in India. The entry level restrictions have been reduced, and it has become more and more easier with less levels of bureaucracies and corruptions, thereby making it more feasible for foreign investors to come and set up shops in India. So I have personally seen just in the last 6 to 7 months, we have close to about 11 to 12 mid-corporate sized companies newly setting up shops in India with a view of actually having a manufacturing setup in India. So I would like to suggest that in this volatile situation of regulations becoming more and more complex and moving all the time, it is necessary for us to get in touch with the bankers, whether or not you will work with us, at least to get an idea of whether you are in the right direction of setting up your shop in terms of compliances, in terms of regulations. Is it the right way of bringing money into India? Would I require an RBI, okay, or a Reserve Bank of India, okay, or not? It's something that I would like to suggest you to come and check with us, so that at least get a guidance from us in terms of what is okay and what is not okay, and then see how it goes for you. That's all for me.
Grazie, thank you Sravanthi, thank you very much, grazie. Dunque, gli interventi sono finiti, in questo momento potete farci delle domande di approfondimento, intanto ce n'è già una. We have a question, Madhav, I think this is for you.
What is the question?
The question is about the good strategy to find the right partner in India. It's not an easy question. About your experience. About your experience.
The right distribution partner or the right partner in India? What's
the good partner? How we can to find a good partner in India?
Well, I mean, it of course. Okay. So it depends.
Or maybe the distributor in India is the good solution for to sell in India, or about your experience you can suggest another kind of approach?
I think it depends firstly on what you can handle from Italy. Yeah. If for India, you do need a partner. Yeah. Whether you take a distributor, whether you find a distributor, you visit somebody in a trade fair, and you meet a distributor, or you meet somebody else who's a business partner and you decide to do some joint venture project with them. For India, you need a partner. You cannot do it alone. Yeah, that is the first point. The second point is when you want to choose a partner, there's several different things that you want to look at. The first is, am I choosing this partner because they are bringing financing? Am I choosing them because they know my end customers? Am I choosing them because they know my product? You have to be clear about what you're choosing them for and how you're going to work with them. Yeah. So if you are, sometimes you can choose a partner because you have a great relationship with them, and many companies, they're family-owned businesses, and the owner develops a very good relationship with another family-owned business in India, and they say, hey, how can we do business together? Because we are friends, we want to do something together. And that's sometimes that's the way business happens, and that's also fine. But when you want to sell your product into India, you do need, firstly, as I said, to understand what can you expect. Yeah, it's like when you're having a baby. Yeah, what to expect when you're expecting. No, I mean, you don't know what. So it's like when you're having a baby for the first time, you don't know what should I expect. First month, second month, third month. Similarly, when you're doing business in India, the first thing you need to understand is what can I expect out of my business. So that's why you talk to someone like us, and we help you understand. Okay, this is what your strategy can look like. First year will be like this. Second year will be like this. Third year will be like that. Once you have clarity on that, then you decide who's the best partner for you. Do you need a distributor of certain kinds of products? Do you need someone who has a large network? Or do you need someone also like us? We are also your partners in the sense that we manage a lot of the transactions, we manage the back office, and we help you sell. We hire people, we hire salespeople, we manage them, and we help really manage your business. And that's our business. So we're not a distributor, we're not an accounting firm, we're not just an advisory firm, but our goal is to help our clients sell in India, as I said. So either you find us as a kind of a partner, or we help you find the right kind of partner for you. So it depends on many factors, but the key takeaway is that don't do business in India alone. Otherwise, A, it'll be tough, and B, it won't grow very well.
Okay. Another question about payroll hosting. How many people we can employ in India via MD, for example? 2 people, 3 people?
Yeah, I think I generally payroll hosting is a great solution for you if you want to have a business developer that is dedicated to you for selling your products. So, for example, you are already present in India through a distributor. You have a good relationship with the distributor, but you're not selling as much. So in that case, you use our service of payroll hosting, where you come to us and you say, hey, how do I grow my business? I think I should be able to sell more, and my distributor is not selling more. So then what we do is we first look at the market to actually validate what you were saying and say, okay, this is what we think that you're capable of. Then we can help identify good salespeople from your industry, business developers, who we then hire on our payroll. So we have control over them, we manage them, it's 100% compliant, it's fully compliant. And then these people go out and they work with their distributor, but they go out and they do business development and get clients just for your product. So I think 2, 3, 4, 5, it can be even 10 people if you like. But typically it's 2, 3 people, that's how it starts. It's a very flexible solution.
Okay, thank you, Madhav. After we have a question for Crédit Agricole, I don't know for or Cecilia or Sravanthi, about the timing for to open a bank account in India, and if we can open the bank account from Italy. Cecilia or Sravanthi?
I would prefer to leave Sravanthi the answer. Yes.
Yes, so I understand your question is about whether an Italian company can open an account in India from Italy.
Yes, this is the first question. The second one is the timing. How many times we need to open a local bank account?
Sure. So Indian regulations are very clear that only a company which is in India can open an account in India. Whether you sit in Italy or anywhere else, it does not matter. But the point is the company itself has to be set up in India. So perhaps, for example, Altios Italia may not have an account in India, but Altios India, because it's a different subsidiary in India, can have an account in India. And how long does it take? Typically, the market timing is for a corporate account. If all the papers, establishment papers, and all the identity copies are in place, it should not take more than about 15 working days maximum.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. I see if we have some other question. Se avete altre domande, lasciamo ancora 15-20 secondi. Intanto vi ricordo che se siete interessati per gli appuntamenti B2B potete contattarci e noi fisseremo una video call nei prossimi giorni con i responsabili che hanno partecipato alla giornata di oggi. Aspettiamo ancora qualche secondo, non vedo. So we have a new question about your opinion about the restriction in international tenders with the make in India. Local content clause. Don't you think that this actually increases the cost and therefore the final offer of the foreign buyer?
If you're talking about the make in India, I don't have a detailed view of that. I think the idea behind this policy, as with everything, is to of course to generate employment and bring more expertise over here. Yes, it'll hurt certain foreign suppliers. It will actually make it harder for certain foreign suppliers to sell over here. But then the idea is that we need to find a way around it. Yeah, the idea behind the policy is to, of course, encourage local manufacturing, but it's not to deter foreigners just from selling. So unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, it will force foreign companies to decide how much they really want to invest in India and how much they want to, how much they really want to know about the market. So these kind of policy restrictions, well, need to be studied and evaluated seriously for you and your company and your product to see if this is something that is worth taking forward or not. And that's something we can eventually help you do.
Okay, perfect. We can set up a meeting maybe for to discuss about this. Okay, perfect. Ok, perfect. Non vedo altre domande. A questo punto vi ringrazio. Thank you very much everybody. E rimaniamo a vostra disposizione per approfondimenti, per appuntamenti B2B nei prossimi giorni. Grazie. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.